Good evening, Des Moines, Iowa, and the rest of the world. Welcome to the N Lefty program, broadcasting you from webcast1live.com. Here on Tuesday, every 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. This is Lefty coming with you with the perspectives you love from the sides you hate. And with me, as always, the guy that I missed more than my own political expediency, Dr. Patrick Petrosh. Doc, what's up?
Hey, not much. As usual, it's just my weight, not my IQ.
Yeah.
So, how was your holiday? Was it good?
You know, it was good. I got a quick story about it. Just about the holiday has been a little bit the most minorly frustrating that it could possibly be, but still kind of frustrating. So I can't remember if I told you the Wednesday before Thanksgiving back in November, I got rear-ended in that sort of freak. That really minor ice storm that glazed the streets just well enough that this guy who was driving his mom's car slid down a hill into me, couldn't stop, rear-ended me, and it cracked the bumper in a couple of different places, had to go get it fixed. Well, didn't have time, kind of put it off. Finally, I was, thinking about going and taking it in, and then after Christmas was over, I wasn't going to mess with it before Christmas. Well, we're traveling for Christmas, Northwest Iowa, Minneapolis, doing the big circuit, 12 hours in the car over 5 days, and that's kind of how it works to see both of our families. Get back into town on December 28th, and I had to run to the office. I got to go do some stuff, and then send them some mail and check the mail that was in over the weekend. Go to get my car, and the warning light pops on about one of the tires. I look over, one of my tires has been slashed while we were out of town. So it's about this 1-inch puncture. It's obvious what happened.
Yeah.
You can always tell. Just the one tire. That was it. The other three were fine. So obviously I couldn't, I couldn't go anywhere. Then the wheel was frozen on, and it just was a big pain in the butt. So I took it to the shop and rental car for a few days. Then they call me on New Year's Eve. Say, hey, your car's done. I'm like, good. I was driving a little Hyundai Accent, which is no big deal, except that
it's a step up from the bubble machine.
Well, I drive a Focus, which I like. It's got all my
those are great cars.
Bells and whistles. It's got the Bluetooth. This didn't have Bluetooth. I forgot what wired iPods. So like I said, very minor inconveniences, but I also wanted my car back. I wasn't a big fan of driving this other car. So New Year's Eve call from the shop and say, hey, it's done. Here's what it is. Their insurance is going to cover everything. They're going to cover the rental. They're going to cover the damage from the rear ending. I was just going to pay for the new tire. I took it all to Stivers out in Waukee. Cost me an arm and a leg for that one tire. So, folks, go to my buddy Jordy Flat. Free plug, my buddy Jordy Flat on Southeast 14th Street. I'll get him. He might, he might sponsor the show. I didn't even think I have never even thought to ask him because he's a conservative like you, and he's tight with his money. No offense to Jordy.
Well, hold on. But it's different than a liberal who's tight with their own money and very generous with everybody else's. That's the difference.
Well,
conservatives are tight with everybody's money.
That makes it worse for him to spend. Yeah. Anyway, that's not apropos. So anyway, I have to get out there by 6:00. They called me at 4.
Yes.
Said, hey, get out here by 6:00. So I had to run some errands first, and I'm thinking I am not going to get from downtown to Waukee by 6. But I left at 4:30, thinking I'm gonna make it. So I got some mail to drop off at the post office. And I go and drop off the mail at the post office. Then I have to go by the dry cleaner to get my coat. My coat had been fixed and cleaned up, and it looks great. And I went to pay for the coat, and I didn't have my debit card. I'd had my debit card at the bank when I made a deposit, and she handed it back to me, and I sat on the seat next to the mail. I think I threw my debit card in the mailbox at the post office on 2nd Avenue. I drove back there. This is New Year's Eve. I got back there at 5:29. I know that because I looked at the clock thinking, please God, somebody be there. The guy that collects the mail and stuff was there. Bless his heart. Looked around for a half hour, went outside with me, went down to the sorter, went all over the place, could not find it.
I'm going to laugh if it was in your pocket.
It's gone. I canceled it. I had to have done that. I had to have thrown it in the mailbox because this rental car was empty. I searched all over for it. So long story short, couldn't get my car that night. Had to keep the car for an extra 2 days, and got it back. It was great. Everything turned out just fine. But 2 consecutive holidays, Thanksgiving and 3 actually, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's car issues after having this car for like 3 years. I couldn't believe it.
Well, but two of them really aren't the car's fault.
No, not the car's fault. None of them are really
Just
the car's fault. Two of them were not my fault. One of them, I think I threw my debit card in the mailbox.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So I've been writing checks all over the place, which is just embarrassing.
Oh my goodness,
it's embarrassing and annoying.
Well, hopefully they're not rubber backed. No,
not anymore.
Anymore.
It was weird. I don't know why they even sold those back in the early 2000s when I was in college, because I ended up dropping a lot of those checks on the ground and bouncing about nose high.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, like I like to say, I got my free throw going because my checks at one point were so rubbery I could bounce them right over. It's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
So how was your? Now I know that you like to kind of travel by yourself.
You know what? My son asked me to stay home, so I stayed home.
Really?
Yeah. So we had got together with my son and a few of the other boys, and we had Christmas and it was just a good time. We got everything done. We had turkey and a ham and all kinds of stuff.
Little game marathon, maybe.
What?
Maybe a little video game marathon.
No. They came over and they all sat around the table. Timmy who calls in. His boy Jackson was there, and he was a whole lot of fun. And this little kid, little Jackson, I got him a Tonka truck, and he would drive it around. And then he would kind of park it in the box. It was his garage,
My sister's son got a fire truck and a cop car for my folks, and was while we were opening presents, was driving the fire truck and the cop car. He got to the coffee table, where the coffee table was set a little too close to the box where all the paper was. Couldn't get through. And he's 2 and he's really little, and lost his mind. He couldn't drive both of them through the gap. He could only go one at a time, and lost his mind.
Well, I will tell you, that's very important for little kids.
Yeah.
That's big stuff there. That's their whole world.
He was there because he was riding around the living room. Yeah. Side by side.
Yeah.
And that was how it was going to be.
Yeah.
And when he got to a one-way only road.
Yeah. Well,
no good.
Well, I sent my brother Joe a present that I know he's going to love. But, and it wasn't all that expensive. It cost me more to ship it up there to him than it did to buy it. And so I sent it overnight. It's supposed to be up there. He's going to go to Bon Air or whatever he's going. And so I get it back yesterday afternoon. He never picked it up. So I'm like, well, rats. So now he's like all paranoid because my grandma had this wig that just creepy. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's a creepy wig. So we like to throw it into each other's cars as we drive off, and we hide it in different places. So since I'm the recipient of it now, I think I'm just going to hang on to it. When he dies, I'm throwing it in his casket, and then I win because there's no way you're getting it out of the casket, buddy. You're dead.
You would have won.
Well, I would have, and so I think what he's done is because he sent me an email. Hey, listen, what's this gift? All kind of paranoid. So, but it's a legitimate gift. So, Joe, if you're listening, I'm going to send it up with Adam here next time he rolls up. Next segment, we're going to tackle the co-opportunity mess.
Yeah.
Because Des Moines made international news again.
It did.
Right there with co-opportunity.
Not for the best reasons like it usually does, though.
No, not for the best reasons. We're going to be back. We're going to be talking about co-opportunity this next segment. Down the road, later in the show, we're going to be talking about Cuba and our thawing relationship with them and how that's going to impact people. And then we're also going to talk about John Boehner and the fight that he had to fend off from the supposed, quote, conservatives that swept into the House this last time around. And there's a couple of other things that if we have time, we might go into. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back right after this commercial break.
Petrosh and Associates, how can I help you?
Petrosh and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Petrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We are talking, I guess, the plan.
My brother Joe wants to know if it's an American-made car that you have. It's a Ford
It's a Ford Focus.
Yeah.
It's the only good American-made car anymore because it's the one that didn't take Obama's Cash for Clunkers money. Well, or the
That is absolutely correct.
well, not Cash
Fords.
for Clunkers. That's a conflation of the two. But didn't take the bailout, so he should be satisfied with that.
He is. I think he's just curious.
Okay. Because I drove a Chrysler before that, but no one wanted to. It was hard. It was hard driving that car around.
Yeah. Well. You just answered my question because I was going to text him back. Anyway, we're going to start up on co-opportunity. If people don't know about what co-opportunity is, it's a insurance organization here in Des Moines, started specifically for Obamacare. And they were counting on a lot of Obamacare money. They were counting on a lot of signups for Obamacare. Mm-hmm. Now, as we all know, because we've debated this before, people really didn't sign up in the numbers that they anticipated. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. You know, you could blame a lot of stuff. We're not going to get into that now because we've gotten into it so many other times before. But they didn't have the numbers that they had counted on. They also were giving a lot more money out for typical services, far beyond. I mean, they're paying more than what Melmark pays, and they're the highest payer around. And what they were counting on, from what I read in the Wall Street Journal, because them folding up made international news. It was in the Daily Mail in London, I know that, and it was in the Kiev Post. It wasn't front page, but it was in there somewhere. There's also Die Stern in Germany. It made papers there. So, I mean, at least it made it to Europe. I shouldn't say all around the world because I don't read any of the Asian newspapers. Anyway, they were counting on a lot of this money from Obamacare, and they were counting on a lot of the money from the state because the state has actually increased the money that they're going to provide for Medicaid, because Medicaid is it's a split between state and federal funding. So they were counting on all that. And the problem is they did get a lot of people to sign up for it, a lot of doctors, but then these people went to the doctor. They were like, wow, I got insurance, I'm going to go. In fact, Tim, we were just talking about Tim. Tim finally was going into the doctor. He's taking his little boy Jackson in there. His significant other was going to the doctor, and I know that in my office, we have our payers, and we didn't see a large jump from co-opportunity, but we probably had 10, 12 people last year come in with that insurance, and the problem really came down to just financial mismanagement. I mean, just straightforward. I mean, this is according to the Wall Street Journal. They needed $125 million just to make it to their next Obamacare payment, which apparently is somewhere around $150 million each payment that they get.
That's not what I'm seeing here.
All right, what you're seeing there? What are your numbers?
They were receiving, because there are other co-ops around the country that are doing really well, like in Kentucky and Maine and stuff. Yeah. But the federal government was paying out, and I'm looking at nonprofitquarterly.org that said that these folks were getting solvency capitalization from the federal government, and co-opportunity, which was insuring Iowa and Nebraska both. So it had signed up like 120,000 people to get insurance through them, was getting a payment about $32.7 million from the federal government. At least that was what the next payment was supposed to be, or what they'd already received.
All right.
And the problem is, and why they went into, well, they got taken over by the insurance commission is because the folks running these co-op, at least running the payment scheme to these co-ops, said we're not giving you any more money. That's it. We can't make you solvent, or we're not going to make you solvent anymore. And it sounds like they signed up too many people for too much service for what they actually had capitalization over, which you see in a lot of businesses in a capital intensive industry along the lines of a health insurer. And boy, I'll tell you what, one of the things about this that is really kind of interesting is what would have happened had Wellmark jumped in the pool with Coventry, because other than Co-Opportunity, Coventry was the only other exchange, healthcare.gov exchange. So anybody that says, hey, I can't afford what Wellmark is offering, or I can't afford what UHC is offering, I can go to the healthcare website, buy a policy there. Well, Coventry and Co-Opportunity were the only two that you could buy in Iowa. And you sort of wonder, would increased competition on the website, on the exchange that it was being set up with more insurance companies, would Co-Opportunity still at least be able to make it through the first year?
Well, and that's a very interesting question. First of all, I believe that Wellmark stayed out simply because they couldn't make money if they got onto the exchange. I believe I think that's
what they thought. I mean, Coventry's made money.
Yeah, but here's a drawback to Coventry. At least in psychiatry, there's nobody in psych in Des Moines that takes Coventry.
Well, because Coventry doesn't cover. I have Coventry personally, and I can tell you, Coventry doesn't cover mental health treatment in a very comprehensive way. If you're looking at your policy, it does okay with deductibles. It does okay with premium payments. It's not. I mean, if you're eligible for a subsidy, say you're making 25, 30 grand a year, you don't have any kids, because that number skyrockets. That limit for subsidies goes up if you have a family. But if it's just you making about 20 grand a year, you're eligible for subsidy. You can get that insurance with a federal subsidy down to about $50.
Yeah, well, but that was I think
if you elect to take it.
Well, that was part of the problem, I think, with Co-Opportunity, is they saw that Coventry, nobody takes Coventry in psych. Nobody does. It's just not worth the hassle from a practitioner's perspective. And the problem, I think, Co-Opportunity went, well, we're going to offer more money to get our practitioners online, and so that they have somebody to go to. Because I can tell you that we probably turn away maybe 6 Coventry people a day simply because we can't afford to take it. It's not that we wouldn't take the money; it's that the amount of time you spend getting your money is cost prohibitive. So I think that's an interesting. I think that's an interesting question. Now, do you think that Co-Opportunity is first in a tidal wave of failures? We have about a minute left, so I'd like your opinion on that.
Well, quickly, no.
You don't think so?
I don't, because the situation with Coventry was fair. Only I say that without a lot of information on the topic, just because look at other states that have these set up. Kentucky, roaring. Maine, roaring. Wisconsin, doing really well. Not as well as these other two, but doing really well. It feels like, at least, and going off this article I was reading today, kind of getting prepped for this, it seems like Co-Opportunity is a little bit of an outlier and perhaps was trying to be too ambitious. Especially, and think about it this way, there are very few states in the country. I'm not saying there aren't a lot. There's a contradictory statement. I'm not saying that there aren't some. There are very few states in this country that are as insurance industry friendly as Iowa. Now that's not a criticism. That's a statement of fact. I make money doing some of this legal work for some of these insurance companies, and Iowa is a very permissive, very insurance industry friendly state, which conversely can have a downward effect on a new company trying to come in and compete against these folks that have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years.
One of our listeners, I think, has hit the problem right on the head, which is going to be a problem a lot for the ACA. They, meaning co-opportunity signed up too many sick people. They needed and expected young, healthy non-utilizers to sign up, and they simply didn't. And in fact, that was a conversation I just had with my son 20 minutes before I came here. You know, his insurance has run out. His girlfriend's insurance has run out. And I'm talking to them, well, don't you guys need insurance? Well, no, we're not going to get insurance because by the time we pay everything, it's not going to cover the stuff we need anyway. And so, you know, that's a conversation that a lot of young people are having. Now, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Bertrosian Associates, Labinas Law Firm, and Halo Capital at DesMoinesInterestrates.com. And we also especially want to thank Des Moines Anesthesia PC, who has been one of our most loyal sponsors that we've had. They do a lot of pain management. And, of course, you know, they're anesthesiologists. So if you need any gas pass, those are the guys to talk to. Their number is 515-574-6442. Please visit our website. I have my new blog up. Have you read it?
I have read it.
All right. And then go to DocandLefty.com. Also follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Bing and several other things. We'll be back right after this break.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around on this first show of 2015. Can you believe it?
Oh, my God. How long have we been doing this?
We've been doing, well,
we're successful, kind of.
Well,
we're getting a lot of listeners. We're just not generating a lot of cash.
That was kind of Co-Opportunity's problem, too.
Yeah, I wish I could get 145 million.
Yeah,
run
exactly.
This show.
Hey.
We'd run this show for the next 20 years on 145 million.
My God, it would probably...
And provide more benefits than the Co-Opportunity did.
Well, yeah, that's true, and we wouldn't post a $45 million loss in 10 months worth of business. Anyway, and that's just kind of, because well, we need gold-plated spigots for the bathroom, Well, that's more of a Republican administration. What was it the Department of the Interior? Remember
the Solyndra?
Under Bush's thing. But no, we're having some fun at Co-op. Is expanded. It's a problem. They had employees and they have insurance, or they have insured folks that are needing to find new coverage now. It is a big bummer and big inconvenience, I guess. And this is what's interesting to me. The politics of this obviously are terrible for the Democrats, are terrible for the Affordable Care Act. But I really want to make this point to kind of wrap it up and we move on to something else. And I know that you're going to take issue with this a little bit.
Well, let's hope so. Otherwise, it's a dull show.
I kind of feel like the death knell of the Affordable Care Act, because you have all of these Republicans out there, see, here's another thing, it's another example of this, and I feel like this is sort of an insulated thing away from the actual structure of the Affordable Care Act itself. This is a business that didn't make it. And it was a business trying to compete in a really tough atmosphere in an area that's really beneficial to the folks that have been around. It was undercapitalized, had too many payouts, and like you said, doesn't look like it was run very well.
No. Well,
so I think that the death of the ACA, or this is evidence that the ACA is premature, and I think that the folks that are these knee-jerk folks that come out, lose a little credibility for the overall argument that something needs to happen with the ACA. That's going to, I think, probably be a very huge theme in 2016. Because what it's doing is distracting from the very few folks in the Republican Party that are saying, look, we've got to get some ideas on the table, because if the Democrats run on the ACA in 2016 as not as saying, look at the great things it's done, but look at these evil Republicans trying to take your health care insurance away, then that's going to be a problem for you guys, no?
Yeah. And, I was hoping I could argue with you, but you hit it right on the head. Republicans, I've said this 100 times, have to have some ideas out there, and they don't have any.
And I think this is a distraction. I think this is easy pickings. Easy pickings for the Republicans.
Easy pickings. But to go back to your point about this is a business that was mismanaged and not run well, be that as it may, its basic business premise was, we're going to operate on the fact that we're going to get a lot of government money.
And they did get a lot of government money.
And it did get a lot of government money, but the problem is you can't run your business based upon you're going to get government money. Because just like we saw, the government at some point will go, we're not going to keep giving it to you.
Unless I guess you're an oil industry person or a biofuels person.
They still have to go out. They still have to go out and actually produce something. They just can't sit there. I mean, So anyway, rats, not as big of a blow up as I was hoping for. Because I agree with Lefty's absolutely right. Republicans have to get something on the table, which kind of leads us into the next question. Mm-hmm. Boehner beat off. Hold on. Boehner rejected a challenge to even Maddie's in there laughing. She did one of these. So anyway, Boehner rejected or was able to keep his Speaker of the House seat.
You know what the final vote was? Were you able to look that up?
No, I was busy at work today. But there are some statistics I know. One, David Young, who campaigned mercilessly on he's his own man, he's going to vote for who's best, he's not going to vote for who he's going to be told to vote for, and had an opportunity to solidify his conservative credentials, which he keeps talking about, went against Steve King, which is always a bad idea in Iowa, against Rod Bloom.
In a section of Iowa.
Well, where do you think his section is? Right up against him.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of those counties that elected King elected Young, and Young voted for Boehner. And then 6 out of the 7 new representatives who said and swore on the campaign trail that they were not going to vote for Boehner, voted for Boehner. So, and including a pastor. And, a lot of that's really disappointing. There was a very strong, again, it's a straight up and down vote. It's not like, you have 2-3 people running and, it's not like, the congressional race that we just had. It's much more like it's a straight up and down vote. And the problem is they had 3 people running in opposition, and that split the vote, and none of them could get enough votes to really challenge Boehner. What is happening, though, is now there's a very strong and united voice against Boehner. And, one of the pictures I saw today of him with the gavel is him reaching over, and him and Nancy Pelosi are hugging, and he's giving her a little kiss on the forehead or on the cheek. I can't remember what. And all I can think of is Napoleon from Animal Farm. That's all I think about when I see John Boehner. He may say the right things. He may be able to get people all worked up, but he's sitting at the table with the rest of the humans, selling out the other animals on the farm. That's my opinion. I've made that clear. Steve King has released a statement. He's political, but it wasn't a very good. It wasn't like, hey, we really like John Boehner. We're gonna get behind him. It was, we're gonna form a coalition to try to get our conservative values through. Now, I don't know how that's going to help the Republicans in the long run, because I don't care who you are. Boehner raised, I don't know, I bet you $110 million for Republicans this cycle. You can't throw a guy like that under the bus. So what do you think?
Well, here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting. So Rod Blum and Steve King voted for this guy out of Florida, Dan Webster. 25 Republicans voted against John Boehner. Okay, now what, they have 247 or so, 246 or so on the Republican side. So a full 10% Boehner won with 90% of the vote. Okay, I mean in raw numbers that's pretty obvious, but speakers I think win with a little bit more of a unified statement than that, especially with all the criticism he's been getting from the right. Here is the Republicans' biggest danger in the lame duck session, in my opinion, given this sort of public dissatisfaction with, especially, two-thirds of the congressional delegation from Iowa, a very important 2016 state. Boehner and Mitch McConnell have a lot to demonstrate here in the next 2 years. Yeah. They have a lot to prove to the folks that elected the Republicans to Congress that they can actually govern, that they can get some legislation in front of the president that he'll pass. And I think that especially with President Obama's approval rating slowly starting to creep up as the gas prices go down, as stupid as that is, we both understand that that's kind of what happens.
It is.
Bush had a couple of, you can see it, a 2-3 point drag almost all the time because of that kind of stuff, whether they go up or go down. And Obama's approval rating is going up just a little bit. You got to think that it, as long as he kind of keeps playing that bully pulpit, keeps, speaking out against one of the most unpopular Congresses of all time. It's been unpopular for a long, long time, especially since Republicans themselves, the generic Republican poll, still has generic Republicans as the lower than Democrats, even though they're still higher than Congress as a whole.
Yes.
Figure that math out. If they're throwing up things that it's easy for the Democrats to say, look, this is business as usual, this is conservative partisan bickering, they can't get their own act together. How are they going to launch a credible candidate in 2016 that says we're the mature, responsible adult party ready to lead this country into the next decade? Yeah, I don't. And then I'm not saying they can't.
Right after the break, we're going to get right back to that very point because Lefty makes an excellent point. If we can't get our own house together, how are we going to be able to put somebody up there that's going to be organized? Anyway, that's what we're going to come back with. We're going to discuss the fallout from Boehner's election here today. We want to thank everybody who's tuning in tonight. We know that you have a lot of other things you could do. If you're in a warm climate, you got a lot of other things to do. If you're in Iowa, be shoveling your driveway. So we appreciate you spending your time with us instead of shoveling your driveway. We'll be back right after this break.
Bertroche and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertrocheandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertroche and Associates.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. I posed a question to my good partner across the table. We don't have aisles here on the Doc and Lefty show. We have a table that does a pretty good job. Doc, and we have a lot of expensive recording equipment, which is great for me because Doc has yet to put any of that at risk, jumping across and coming after me. It's pretty hard to get me riled up to the point of violence, and he's bigger than me. So
yes,
yeah, that's. But
plus, you're a pacifist. It's always easy to beat on a pacifist.
It is.
It's like kicking a puppy.
We're not. You're like, and I'll always get the sympathy vote from the folks that think that beating up pacifists is wrong.
Yes,
I know there's like.
Well, it's necessary though.
Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's necessary, and sometimes it's necessary to take that licking too. But so I posed that question, and
well, I will tell you, this is a list of they call them defectors. I'm getting my information off thehill.com. It was Justin Amash from Michigan, Raul Labrador from Idaho, Steve Pierce from New Mexico, Representative Jim Bridenstine from Oklahoma, and Ted Yoho from Florida, Eric Cantor, they all voted for Eric Cantor, but Cantor himself voted for Boehner. Then Paul Brown, Louis Gohmert, and Walter Jones all voted for him. So it was quite a bit of a backlash. Part of the problem that Republicans in general have, and conservatives specifically have with Boehner, is Boehner provides a lot of cover for a lot of the BS that Obama does that infuriates conservatives. And whenever Obama needs a bailout, Boehner's always there to give him one. Just like this, the negotiation over the fiscal cliff, right? The conservative Republicans are going like, hold on, we're just giving in. We're just giving them whatever they want. That's not negotiation. So then he went back and they were able to work out a little bit more of a conservative $9 billion package or whatever it was. And that seemed to mollify some of the conservatives. Well, for fiscal conservatives like myself and for fiscal hawks like Steve Deace and some of the other radio personalities out there, that doesn't bode very well for us in general. So we're just looking at another 2 years of Napoleon running loose there in the human household. I think Lefty made an excellent point where you have to have some ideas and some structure that can keep your base so that when you're running a presidential candidate, he doesn't alienate them. I can tell you that if those 11 million people that stayed home, Republicans that stayed home, had gone to the polls, even half of them, there's a pretty good chance Mitt Romney may have won that. But the fact of the matter is Mitt Romney alienated the conservative base to the point where 11 million of the conservative votes went, I'm not voting for him. So you made a very good point. We have to get our house in order.
Well, let me ask you this question. So no one is really talking about, no one is really nationally is really talking about the Republican Party as being in the wilderness and needing to find its leadership and needing to find its soul and all the stuff that when we started the show, we were talking about a lot right around.
Yes.
It was 2 years in this past October because it was right around the 2012 election. They're talking about that with the Democrats. Now, here's something that I think is very interesting, and I want to get your take on it. Mario Cuomo recently passed away, the age of 82, I think. Mm-hmm. Seen as one of the old school 1960s, 1970s liberals with a capital L. This guy was a Democrat to his bones and someone who really had the ear of he and Ted Kennedy really had the ear of the party back in the 70s and 80s that was then kind of swept aside by the Clinton reform movement. That's really the Democratic platform today is more incrementalism, reform. Let's not keep throwing money at the problem. Let's try and fix things and tweaks and small pieces of legislation to make the whole overall structure work better, which is more what the Democrats are all about. Now, at least the mainstream, quote unquote, mainstream Democrats, that's what Hillary sort of represents. So in the wake of Mario Cuomo's passing, there's a lot of speculation on the Democratic side is where's all the energy? Yeah. Love Hillary Clinton. Caucused for her in 2008. Not so confident that she's got the Democrats, like the kids that are going to come out and really push for her in 2016. Is that energy? Is the mainstream Democratic Party, is that where the energy is? Or is the energy with Elizabeth Warren, with Bernie Sanders, with folks who are classic, who 40 years ago were the Democrats, but now are the outsiders looking in? What do you think?
I would, you know what? You stole my thunder. I was actually going to mention this in a segment if I ever had a chance.
Oh.
That's where I believe I think you're 100% right. I think that's where the energy is. And because these people have developed quite a following. I have a cousin, Valerie, who for the most part is a pretty smart gal. And lately she's been putting up some of the most inane left-wing drivel that I've ever seen put out there. And this is my cousin. Now, it doesn't mean that she started out a conservative, went to liberal. She didn't. She started out liberal and stayed there. But the bottom line is I'm looking at this. She's putting up a lot of memes from Sanders, a lot of memes from Warren. That's where the energy of the Republican or the Democratic Party is going to be. The problem is the energy of the Republican Party is its staunch Christian and fiscal conservatives. To wit, Boehner has alienated them. Christian conservatives don't want him up there anymore. He's seen as a hack, as somebody that's willing to play ball with Obama. And the fiscal conservatives are going, you've had 2 years to get your fiscal house in order, to just, like you said, flood them with paper, and he hasn't done it. What he's done is conciliatory. And at this point, the energy of the Republican Party is really dissipating, especially after this vote, because there's a lot of conservative Republicans going like, why do I even want to do it? There's a guy named Thayer, and I believe he's up in Potawatomi. I've met this guy. This is a high-energy guy. Today, he says, I'm done with the Republican Party. I cannot believe they reelected Boehner again. So you're taking people, and I'm sure that's going to be a domino effect in the Republican Party. There's a lot of fiscal and conservative, Christian conservatives who are simply going, I'm done with the Republican Party. Now, a lot of these people are going to go to Libertarian, and some are going to go to the Tea Party, but still, it's still going to be an issue.
In that context, and I'd love, and Joe, if you're listening, I'd love to get your brother's take on this, because I think...
Give me a second. We got to take a break now. So hold on to that question. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hope you find this enjoyable, because we like talking about it. We'll be back right after the break. We want to thank all of our sponsors, Petrosian Associates, Labinas Law Firm, Halo Capital, at Des Moines Interest Rates, Des Moines Anesthesia PC at 515-574-6442. Go to our website, docandlefty.com. Follow our blogs. We have Facebook and Twitter. Please follow us there. We'll be back right after this break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. That's a pretty hot picture.
Can you zoom in on this picture at all?
That is John Boehner giving Nancy Pelosi a little smooch there.
Oh, right there.
And she's loving it.
Oh, yeah. Can you see the grin on her face? Hopefully.
Yeah, no, she looks like she's not too happy.
Well, hold on. That's probably the most action she's gotten in a while.
Hey, calm down.
What?
Calm down.
This is a family show.
So, and we gotta move on. Well, actually, we don't have to move on. It's our show. We can do whatever we want.
Yes.
But
you had a question from my brother Joe.
But yeah, I wanted to see what his thought was, given and in this context, and maybe he'll disagree with your premise, because I'm taking this from you, that if the Republican energy after their big tidal wave victory in 2014 is starting to kind of ebb and recede, given these early signs that you're pointing to here in 2015. And I saw just an article just now that said they fired a shot at Social Security, so maybe they're not, maybe they're still feeling their oats a little bit here in the first couple of days. But if the energy is starting to wane a little bit, then if the Democrats were to nominate in 2016, and this is so hypothetical, I'm curious to know what you guys think, were to go that route, embrace their energetic part of their party, and go a liberal route, go an Elizabeth Warren, go a Bernie Sanders, or somebody who's not on the stage yet.
Yep.
In a presidential election that has in the last few cycles favored Democrats, do you think that would get the job done? Increase Democratic energy, decreasing Republican energy, or do you think that a big time liberal like that would rile up the conservative base so bad that they would compete more, evenly in a presidential year?
Well, it will depend. It will really, I believe that scenario is very legitimate. Joe hasn't texted or called in at this point, but I believe that what you've just outlined is a legitimate thing that could happen. If they had somebody who is very articulate, if they had somebody that, like Barack Obama is fairly spotless, right? I mean, he's lost his like medical or his law license, and so does his wife and all that stuff. They were disbarred or something. They
weren't disbarred.
Well, that's what the information you get. But anyway, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like he's got a dead body floating around like the Clintons or anything. So the bottom line is, if you get somebody articulate up there, I think that they can make a legitimate run. The problem is the Republicans are great at shooting themselves in the foot. First, they run John McCain, who all he had to do is sit up there and go, "Hi, I'm a war hero. I believe in fiscal conservatism. This is what I believe." Instead, he gets up there and he points at Barack Obama and acts like a highnyak during the debate. Well, you can't do that. I believe that was one of the losses. Mitt Romney alienated the political base. So we need to get somebody in there that is articulate and has solid conservative credentials that hasn't sold out to the establishment. That is about the only way I think the Republicans are going to win. Now, throwing this in, unless the dynamics of the election this next time around are going to be different, unless meaning the Democrats, run another person of color. Keep in mind, the black vote has been astronomically high when Barack Obama has run. And that is a key demographic for them. And I think that if they run somebody who's white, that demographic is not going to be nearly as strong in this election as it was in the previous elections. Would you agree with that? So,
I was blown back on the whole law license. I got distracted.
Basically, I said unless the Democrats run another person of color. That if they run a white person, that the
I see. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's still pretty far away. But boy, I'll tell you what. Don't you feel like it's going to be a woman either way? Don't you feel like it's going to?
I think there's a good chance, especially with Joni Ernst and the lady. I hate to say it this way, the black lady that got reelected as representative, the Republican.
Out in Utah?
Yeah.
I can't remember her name either.
I want to say Walls, but that isn't it. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, well, Joe has emailed me a ton of stuff, so I'll kind of give it a look. Oh yeah, backroom deals by Boehner. That's going to be a problem. Now I'm going to tell you that one of the benefits, I think, of having a super liberal in the Oval Office right now is he's willing to take on part of his Hispanic base and getting things going with, loosening up relations with Cuba.
Everybody except the Cubans likes it. In the Hispanic world, at least, that's kind of what has been.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen. So how do you see this playing out in 2016?
In 2016, I think it's a contrast. I think the Democrats would be dumb to run away from it. I really do, because I think they do two things. Well, three central things. One, hey, look. We're a modern country who can have modern relations with a country like Cuba, bring our closest neighbor along, and try and put an end forever to the Cold War. This is the last Cold War thing. Number two, this deal was brokered with no small assist from Pope Francis, which means that a Democrat running in 2016, supporting the thawing in relationships with Cuba, would be able to say, hey, would have Pope Francis on the side, hey, look, the most popular pope, at least since John Paul II was raised in the 70s. I mean, people love this guy. Very popular, and he's very popular in the Latin American world. So you have a Latin American pope help brokering a deal to normalize relationships with a Latin American country. He didn't hurt his Hispanic base, or he didn't hurt the Democratic Hispanic base whatsoever.
Well, now I don't think it's whatsoever, but I do believe that
he made some Cubans in Miami angry, and I'm not trying to disparage that community at all, but it's a smaller community than the
rest of the Hispanic world. Yes, and I agree. The problem is the Cubans are they're wealthy, and two, they're very vociferous. One of the things that I've read. and I didn't read the complete article. I just read about half of it. They were interviewing several Cubans down there, and it would be they likened it to what if we went to Cambodia and started talking to Pol Pot, right? That would offend, most of the Vietnamese that are here. What if we went and started talking to Africans and trying to normalize relations with, Baby Doc or Idi Amin? That's how they're looking at this.
But we did with Muammar Gaddafi and with the government in Myanmar.
Yeah,
Under the Bush administration. I mean, countries do this. I'm not throwing George Bush on it because I think that those were maybe not the right decision, but certainly defensible from an international standpoint.
Yeah. Well,
at the time, obviously, Libya blew up in our faces. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Libya
blew up because of
George Bush couldn't have foreseen that.
Well, no, and Libya blew up because of the Russians. I mean, we've talked about that before, how the Russians pressured the Europeans, and then the Europeans got rid of Muammar Gaddafi. Anyway, I'll actually blog about that, about how the Ukrainians got shafted in that whole deal. But yeah, I mean, I think, honest to goodness, I'm actually glad that it's happened. Now, I have great sympathy for the Cubans in Miami. I understand what happened there. The bottom line is it's 50 years. It's gone by.
It hasn't worked.
And it hasn't worked, right? Because you know why? Sanctions don't work. That's what it is. Because most of the time they don't work because your friends, don't go in with you.
Well. Sanctions don't necessarily topple regimes, but they certainly make a country that was the height of culture and class before the embargo stay in 1955.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to talk about sanctions not working, look at Iran. Look at what's happening to the ruble in Russia right now.
Yeah,
it's cratering.
Well, but that's an entirely different subject. We could probably talk about that forever. Who's that on the phone? That's my brother.
Oh,
all right,
good.
My brother Joe's on the phone. Let me plug in. We're gonna skip the next commercial break. Listen to my brother Joe. So.
All right, Joe, you there?
Yeah.
So So this is Lefty. I posed the question because I wanted to hear what you thought about because Pat expressed some concern about the Republican energy kind of starting to wane with the reaffirmation of the Boehner agenda, and I was curious, in a 2016 election that historically has been favoring Democrats at the presidential level, could the Democrats get away with running a big-time liberal against a Republican Party that might not be as excited in 2016?
Well, first of all, I want to wish you guys a Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year to
Happy
you.
New Year,
Thanks a
Joe.
lot.
And Merry Christmas.
How come you didn't pick up my gift I shipped up there to you at the cost of $20?
You're all blurry on this end, Pat. I can't hardly hear you. I can hear Blake okay, but...
All right. Well, I just wanted to know. I wanted to know why you didn't pick up the gift that I sent you at a cost of $20.
Yeah, if it was a wig, I emailed you. You can keep that for a while.
It wasn't.
However, I also want to say I had nothing to do with Blake's tire.
I wouldn't say too much about it, Joe, because I did call it into the cops. I was just trying to be as thorough for my insurance company as possible, but then like an idiot, I realized after the claim that it was the end of the year and I hadn't done anything with my deductible.
Yeah, well, that's too bad. It's vandalism, not good. But
no, never.
That's what I would tell you. As I emailed Pat again, Sharon and I are so disgruntled with the Republican Party that it's very sad the way it's turning out, and that Mr. Bush is now going to be our big candidate. I think he's going to raise a ton of money, and I think he's going to basically run the other candidates out.
So do you think a Jeb Bush presidential run is bad for the Republicans in 2016?
I think it would sink a good part of the base, because I would not be enthusiastic about him, and I wouldn't campaign for him.
Why is that?
I think we've already had enough of the Bush family,
and I think a lot of Democrats feel that way about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I think a lot of times you'll look on Facebook and you'll see these memes going back and forth about, here are the 5 families that we've been elected. You have Kennedy, you have Clinton, you have Bush, and there's 2 other families. I forget who they are. The Quayles at one point. So, you have these people that have been around forever and ever, and they just rerun and retread the same old stuff. And, especially with Boehner, like Joe had pointed out in an email, there's a lot of backroom dealing that Boehner does in order to help out Barack. And a lot of the votes that he takes, you have to stop and go, well, whose side are you on? And I think that, moderate Republicans anymore are viewed so suspiciously by conservatives that there isn't a way to heal that rift in the next 2 years.
Well, yeah, I don't think you should label somebody a moderate if they're part of the problem. And that's what I think the issue is basically they label some of these Republicans as moderate, and they're really just part of the Beltway problem. And I think that's where most of the conservatives are coming from. It's just getting tiresome having the same old. And as I indicated to you, Pat, and in my email, all I care about is somebody who gets up there and promises a balanced budget, somebody that promises that when they say something, they're going to at least try to do it. And that's where I think if we get a Republican candidate that does that, that's fine. But if they had a Democrat candidate up there and he said I would do the same thing, that would be fine too. So
yeah, and I think,
and I'm just enough radical myself that if somebody's there and they actually would clean up the town like President Obama said, and I guess probably every other presidential candidate has said, but they actually could do it, that would make everybody feel better.
Yeah,
but that's why again I voted for John Anderson when he ran for president, and if you are old enough to remember him, he was an independent candidate, and Ralph Nader when he ran, and it's because I get tired of the status quo, and I think most of us feel that way. Now, Elizabeth Warren, I think, would be galvanizing, and this Bernie Sanders guy would also be galvanizing, and I think there would be the same old. I've been voting for the lesser of two evils for 2 decades, and I'm getting tired of that. So
yeah, and like Blake has pointed out a couple of times, at some point the Republicans are going to have to hold their nose and vote for the people that can reestablish and reunite the Republicans, much like Ronald Reagan did. I mean, Ronald Reagan had to move a lot further to the center than what I believe he wanted to way back then. Simply because he had to. I mean, Tip O'Neill controlled the purse strings.
Well, here's something I heard on the radio a couple days ago that is an interesting point. I want to see you guys think about it. When we're talking about holding our nose and how the thought has just kind of gone off my head. Joe, let me collect my thoughts. Joe, respond to what Pat just said.
Well, I was busy listening to you.
You confused us all. So, well, anyway, we're rolling in toward the end of the show. Joe, is there anything else you want to say about this, real quick?
Not on that particular topic, but
all right.
I do want to know what kind of vehicle or what kind of tires Blake had.
What kind of tires I had?
The kind that came with the Ford Focus.
Yeah, that's the company issue. I didn't really even. It's funny because I'm friends with the guy that owns Flat Tires down in Southeast 14th, and so I actually know a little bit, at least to look at tires, what a good deal is. And the convenience of having everything fixed at the dealership, because I'm leasing the thing from them, so I thought that would be the right thing to do under the contract, is have them fix it. It was an arm and a leg. It really was. It was a lot of money.
Pricey.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I will let you guys go.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling in, Joe.
Good show.
All right. Now, on a note that's sad for me, we're going to finish this out, and I hope that it won't be sad. I'm hoping that'll be inspirational. I talk a lot about my friend Tommy O. And hero of 9/11, person who organized the emergency response out there. A heck of a guy, brilliant. Was influenced quite a bit by his godfather and his uncle. And that man passed away today about an hour and a half ago. And I told Tom I would mention him on the show, what a great man he was. I personally never got to meet this guy, but Tom would talk about him all the time, how smart he was, how inspirational he was, and what a guiding light this guy was a lot of times in Tom's life when things weren't going as well as they could. So I just want to mention, I want to say, give my condolences to Tom. I'm sure that your godfather is blessed and is in heaven right now looking over you. And, our thoughts and prayers are with you. That's going to wrap up our show. Blake, you got anything that,
I got a gig at Ducktail and Clive coming up here on Saturday. Other than that, just trying to stay ahead of the pack. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, you bet. We're going to be back next week. We might, if this Scalise thing takes off, there's a representative spoke at a David Duke event or something like that. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but anyway, he's a conservative Republican, talked at a white supremacy group. And if this thing takes off, we'll talk about it next week. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in. We want to thank all of our sponsors, especially Des Moines Anesthesia, Bertrosian Associates, Lubinas Law Firm, and Halo Capital. Follow us at Facebook and Twitter, and go out, check out the new blogs on DocandLefty.com. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you all next week.
Good night.
Hi, I'm Representative Tom Shaw, and I love these guys. Both of them.
Love these guys. Get over here. Love both of them.